Hi everyone, Abby here, and welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. Now here on my channel, AbbyBCruising, I do cruise ship reviews and traveling content. And today I'm going to be reviewing the food on Royal Caribbean's Enchantment of the Seas, one of Royal Caribbean's oldest and smallest cruise ships. I'm going to be talking about breakfast, lunch, dinner, desserts, how the food tasted, different options that were available, the service, and I'll be sharing the good and the bad experiences on this cruise ship with the food. But before I get started, make sure to hit that subscribe button if you're not already subscribed so you can stay tuned to all my new videos dropping monthly and so you can help the channel grow. You guys recently got me to 200 subscribers. Thank you so much. Love having you guys subscribe and join the family. This is a new channel here for me, trying to grow this thing up. So definitely subscribe and join the AbbyBCruising family. And before I get into it, just throwing it out there that I do have celiac disease, so I have to eat gluten-free. I'm also a vegetarian. I also went on this sailing with my husband, who is not celiac, also not vegetarian, but he did eat gluten-free for the sailing just to keep things simple. So you guys are going to be seeing, meat options, vegetarian options, a bunch of things across the board, and I'm going to show you as many menus as possible as well, so you can see all of the food options. So even if you aren't gluten-free, if you're not vegetarian, anything like that, this should be helpful for you because you're going to see exactly what is offered on this ship. And I'm going to be showing you guys food all around the ship. Some of it's gluten-free, a lot of it is not. So when it comes to the food options on board, there are some things that are complimentary, included in your cruise fare. And then there are specialty dining or extra cost options. So if you wanted to eat complimentary, which you totally can, you can for sure eat on Enchantment of the Seas, not spend an extra dime. And if you want to eat complimentary, there are a few options for you. Now the first option would be the Windjammer. That is an onboard buffet on Enchantment of the Seas where you can get grab and go food. Windjammer is open for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Another option is the main dining room, which is a classic fine dining experience. You will sit down in a beautiful dining room with chandeliers and windows around, really nice, vibes there. And you get a 3-course meal for dinner. You get a starter, a main, and a dessert. There are some things that are extra cost if you wanted to get lobster, for example. Usually the cruise does one day where they include lobster for free, but if you want to eat that on another day, you can spend more there if you want to. Another option that's included complimentary is Park Cafe, which is an onboard little sandwich grab and go shop, which is in the adults only pool area on board. So you can grab little sandwiches that are pre-made, you can grab pizza, little desserts as well. Another option on board is Cafe Latitude. So that is a coffee shop on board. And at this coffee shop, you'll find different types of coffee, tea, some desserts, pastries, little sandwiches, things like that. Now, they do have some specialty drinks that are extra cost, like if you wanted to get, a cafe mocha or something. But if you want just basic coffee and tea, that is included. And they also have ice cream. That's an extra cost there. I believe it's Ben & Jerry's. If you want to pay for ice cream, you can go there. But if you don't want to pay for ice cream, you can definitely get soft serve near the pool deck. They do have a soft serve machine that's also complimentary. You can get chocolate, you can get vanilla, you can get the swirl. Different options there for you as well. And the final option for complimentary items on this ship is complimentary room service just for breakfast. So if you want maybe some pastry, coffees, some things like that, you can get it. But if you want like a hot breakfast, you're not gonna get that for free. Now, there is one specialty dining option on board, which is Chops Grill. That's an onboard steakhouse. So if you're someone looking for a nice steak, or maybe you want some types of, surf and turf, fish, something like that, they got you covered for all of your meat needs. This is a specialty restaurant across all fleets of Royal Caribbean ships. So if you're looking for, that fine dining experience, you can head on over there. But if you want to get room service for lunch or for dinner, it is paid options, but they do have that as well available. It's like a small fee and you can just order to your room. And one thing that I noticed from the past is that if you want to order pizza, they usually send you an entire pizza, not just a slice, so keep that in mind. So for breakfast, I primarily went to the main dining room. I really like the fine dining experience where you can just sit down, order, they bring your food to you, you don't have to go stand, wait in line. I'm gonna throw the menu on screen for you guys. I like the breakfast menu. There's a brunch menu that's open later in the day on some days, but the breakfast menu, if you are gluten-free like myself, pretty much they said I can have any egg dish I want, as well as pancakes. I ordered a lot of different things, and the breakfast, in my opinion, was the best meal on board that I got. It was the most consistently good food that I got on board. Most of the time, everything came just as I ordered with the right doneness. I do like eggs that are well done. I don't like the runny yolks like my husband does, but yeah, most of the time they were pretty spot on with the breakfast, and there was a good amount of food. For me, standouts for the breakfast were the pancakes. I had some really great pancakes, and I also really liked the omelets. Very good for breakfast indeed, and the breakfast came out really quickly, usually within about 15 to 20 minutes or so. And I was someone who I did go earlier in the morning, usually around 8 o'clock or so, for the breakfast in the main dining room. If you go to the main dining room for breakfast, you are not seated with your typical waiter for dinner. You're just getting whoever is available. And if you guys are finding this video helpful so far, please go ahead and smash that like button for me. I'd really appreciate it. And while you're there, consider subscribing if you're liking this content so you're notified every time I post. Another option for breakfast is the Windjammer, which once again is that onboard buffet. And there's plenty of pre-made options that you can grab and go, or you could even visit things like, omelet bars, eggs your way, and they always have things like hash browns, baked beans, bacon, sausage. They have assortments of cheeses, they have some pastries, a bunch of different fruits, grits, oatmeal, things like that you can grab from the Windjammer. Now the Park Cafe was also open, but for breakfast they had a variety of fruits, sandwiches that you can grab. You can get the sandwiches heated up if you'd like as well. Yogurt parfaits, they had oatmeal, grits, and more. And if you were gluten-free like myself, they do wrap up the sandwich for you, so it's not getting any cross contamination on there. And the breakfast sandwich I had was pretty good. And just as a tip, you can always take your food to go whether you're eating in the Windjammer, the main dining room, anywhere on board. So if you want to just order grab and go, you can definitely do that. And this meal here is an example of that. You can see the gluten-free New York bagel with lox and gluten-free French toast. And one thing to note is that you can order more than one thing. If you don't want to just have an omelet, you can order an omelet, you can order a bagel, you can order a toast, you can order an omelet and pancakes. You are not stuck to just ordering one different meal, and that goes for every single meal you're having at the main dining room. Now for the breakfast, the most disappointing aspect for me was I don't like my eggs when they're runny in the middle, and I always ordered everything over easy or well done. And there was an instance when I got eggs that were runny, so I didn't like that. So when it came to lunch on board, your options opened up a little bit. So on some days, main dining room was open for lunch, but you can go in and get, that classic fine dining experience. So that was a good option when it was open. I did like going there. Another option for lunch would be the Windjammer, which you can go and, that grab and go experience at the buffet. They would have things like pasta bars, salad bars. They had an assortment of different types of meat, burgers, fries, hot dogs. They always had a lot of cheeses, and then they had desserts. They had soups. You could make yourself a sandwich. A bunch of different great options there for lunch. And I will say, if you are someone like me who is gluten-free, when I did go and I asked them what I could eat, I basically was told that they couldn't make me anything, which I've never been told before when I was cruising gluten-free. But they basically said, you can grab some fruit, but we can't really guarantee you anything is gluten-free other than that. While they will have some options like salads, for example, that you can make, they couldn't even guarantee me that salad dressing was gluten-free, and there was cross-contamination with croutons and things. So like I said, I pretty much went and grabbed fruit, but my husband, he made himself a bunch of salads on board. He did really like those himself. So I didn't really eat at the Windjammer myself, other than going and grabbing the occasional, apple, banana, things like that. But I was really disappointed by the fact that they really said, I can't make you anything. If you are not gluten-free, you don't really have any worries. There's a bunch of options for lunch. Now, another option for lunch is the Park Cafe. So that's pretty much open for lunch into a little bit of the evening, and then it closes. The hours were a little bit strange, but at the Park Cafe, once again, you can get pizza made to order. So they usually had slices of cheese, slices of pepperoni. If you did want a veggie, or if you wanted gluten-free, for example, you would have to order that there. I did go to Park Cafe a lot for pizza for lunch. I found that was one of my best options because it was something that was made pretty quick, within about 10-15 minutes, and it was just easy. I placed my order, wait, and the pizza was usually pretty good. I will say the pizza, sometimes it was spot on, amazing, and other times it was just undercooked, and I'd have to send it back and say, hey, can you cook this a bit longer? So really depending on who was working there, it was very kind of hit or miss with the doneness of the pizza to my liking anyways. But in addition to pizza, once again, they had sandwiches, grab and go, they have desserts, they had little fruits and fruit cups that you can grab there as well. And the sandwiches that they had did rotate daily. It was kind of like daily specials. There was always one gluten-free sandwich and then usually one or two vegetarian options, and a bunch of different meat options as well for the sandwiches that you could choose there. And when it came to lunchtime, for me, the standout was definitely the Park Cafe. It's somewhere I went a lot. I do like pizza. I like that they were able to offer me some great gluten-free pizza that I could order quickly. But for me, the negatives were also the pizza, because if it was not cooked well, it was a real downer after waiting 15 minutes or so, and you get something and it's like floppy. There's very hit or miss with the quality control there as well for lunch, but overall it was pretty good. It was more good than bad for lunch for sure. Now, when it came to dinner, I would eat at the main dining room every single day. The menus do change daily, and they're kind of themed menus. So you might see Caribbean, you might see Italian food, French food, Mexican food. And in addition to the food that was changing daily with the different themes, pretty much on the menus you'd have every single day would change, and there might be like 2 or 3 items that would stay the same. Now, there's also kid menus that were on board. The kid menus were pretty consistent every single day, the same items. So if you're traveling with little ones, or even if you as an adult want to order off the kids menu, you can do that. For the main dining room here, there was a large variety of food, and I really liked having, the starter, the main, the dessert, because you got to try different things every day.
Now, dinner in the main dining room would always start off with bread. Now, what you guys are seeing here is gluten-free bread. They would just bring out whatever gluten-free bread of the day they have. Typically, it was a white type of toast. They would either toast it or warm it, and it was served with butter. Now, if you are not gluten-free, they actually walk around with bread baskets where you can choose from a white, a multigrain, a cheese, or whatever other option they have of the day of different types of bread and rolls. Now, when it comes to the main dining room, I ate there a lot, so there's a lot of food to show you. I'm gonna do a little bit of a montage of showing you a bunch of the food that we had for dinner. It's gonna be, mains, starters, dessert. That's how you do it. This looks good. I bet you this is gonna be spicy. To let you guys know that my favorite starter was, I didn't have one. I found everything was kind of average. Nothing really felt above one another for the starters for me. There was a lot of soups and things that I'm not a huge fan of, but I definitely felt limited as a vegetarian and gluten-free. And my husband, he did enjoy the shrimp cocktail as his favorite starter.
Now, for the mains, my favorite main, they had this pesto pasta. They were able to make it gluten-free and vegetarian, and it was really good and tasty. So that was my favorite, and I got it with a side of mashed potatoes as well. The mashed potatoes were fantastic on board. They were one of my favorite things to eat. Now, when it came to my husband, his favorite
dish was a seafood linguine. Now, you notice there's no linguine here. They did sub it up for gluten-free pasta here, more of a penne, but he really liked it. He said there was a good amount of seafood. It was creamy, flavorful, so could be a great option if you're a seafood lover.
For desserts, my favorite dessert was, honestly, it was fruit. I know that you guys are like, fruit? But they had really nice fruit cups for dessert, and it was just a nice light thing, especially when a lot of the starters and mains were heavier. I like having light desserts sometimes. And I also really liked, they had this pineapple upside down cake, and they were able to make it gluten-free. It was really tasty, so I really enjoyed that as well. And my husband's favorite dessert was the creme brulee.
Another dining option for dinner is, of course, the Windjammer, that onboard buffet, where you can grab and go whatever you want, really. And they do have some things like meat carving stations. They had a pasta bar where you can kind of make your own pasta. There's always lots of bread to grab. If you are a fan of bread, there's make your own salads, there's pre-made salads, there's a bunch of stews, different meat dishes. There's always a curry of the day. There's pizza, classic American food like burgers, and dessert as well. There was also a drink station where you can get free water, iced tea, apple juice, things like that. So if you don't want to get a beverage package, you just want to drink juice and water and tea and coffee, you don't have to buy one. Those are only really if you want to get alcohol, if you want to get fresh squeezed juice and smoothies and stuff like that. So Definitely got a great options here in the Windjammer if you are not gluten-free. If you are gluten-free, you're going to be out of luck because cross-contamination all over the place. Another option for dinner or kind of late night is the Park Cafe. They're open from 9 p.m. to I believe it was like 1 o'clock. So if you want to go get some late night pizza or sandwich or something like that, you can definitely head over there. That was the venue that was actually open the latest on the ship for late night snacks.
So I've told you guys about, the main breakfast, lunch, dinner, but dessert, kind of its own category for me. Desserts are like my favorite thing of a meal. I always look forward to them. If I could, I would eat desserts first. I love desserts. Now, on Royal Caribbean, unfortunately on Enchantment of Seas, there wasn't that many dessert options I could eat. Now, I did try an assortment of desserts in the main dining room. A lot of them were pretty tasty, but I find Royal Caribbean does a lot of Jell-O-like desserts. If you like Jell-O, if you like puddings, if you like flans, if you like creme brulee, fantastic. They have a lot of that in various different shades, different flavors that is constantly coming out. They have like trifles and things like that. So there's a lot of different types of those desserts. So if you like desserts like that, fantastic, because they always have many of them available. Another thing they have available grab and go around the ship is little pastries. So they usually have like little cupcakes or little mini cheesecakes. They have cookies, and their cookies are phenomenal, guys. And they have usually sugar-free cookies and dessert options for people who are diabetic or looking for, low sugar. So they do have a lot of different types of desserts. I just find the majority of them are those like Jell-O-like type of things. And I'm someone who I do like cakes and cookies. Another thing is that if you do want some gluten-free cookies, you can request that. You can call up room service, or you can head to the Windjammer. You can head to either of the cafes, and they do have like Udi's chocolate chip cookies available. I will say on my sailing on day 2, they were literally sold out. Like all the gluten-free people ate all the cookies in 2 days, so they didn't have nearly enough, which was super disappointing because they were so good, chewy, chocolatey, great cookies. So not that many options for desserts for, outside of the main dining room if you are gluten-free. But if you're not gluten-free, there's desserts everywhere. You can grab and go and get a variety of different things. Typically on cruises, on the last night in the main dining room, the staff might do a little bit of entertainment for you, maybe putting on a show, or they'll tell you about, all of the people they fed, how many dishes they made, etc. They didn't do any of that on Enchantment of the Seas. It was just like last night, okay, bye, that was it. It was strange to me. Like I said in my review, Enchantment of the Seas is a little bit different from any other cruise I've ever been on. It's the oldest and the smallest ship, and I can definitely feel that. It's lacking in areas of entertainment and in kind of service as well, which I'm gonna talk about next. But I did find it very strange, and it kind of felt like something was missing from my dinner experience, and we didn't get that, last night homage to the guests and the staff and all of that in the main dining room. I did have the earlier dining, which was like around, I think it was like 5 or 5:30 p.m. So when it came to the service, I found that most of the people in the food service areas on board were fantastic. They were really nice, they were responsive, they could answer my questions, and if they didn't know, they would go ask somebody who knew the answer. Because of course I'm asking about, dietary restrictions and things, so they want to give me the correct answer, which I totally don't mind waiting for, a more appropriate or an accurate answer. When I was at Cafe Promenade, fantastic. They would make me gluten-free pizza. If it was underdone, they didn't give me attitude when I asked them to make it a bit longer. Same thing with Cafe Latitudes. If I wanted to grab a quick tea, they were quick and efficient at making it, and they were also very polite, genuine, nice to be around. When I was in Windjammer, I didn't go there much. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. My husband went there. He said that they were always, nice to him. The people I interacted with, it was bad. They basically found that I was gluten-free. They treated me like a hassle, and I'm like, yeah, we can't feed you anything, like, bye. So it wasn't very helpful for me. That's what I was told. Can they make gluten-free things? I don't know, but that's just what I was told when I asked, for the manager. And I found that the staff was a bit slow when it came to picking up plates and stuff. So I didn't really enjoy being in Windjammer myself. Not a great experience when you're surrounded by all of this food and then I couldn't eat anything. When I was in the main dining room for breakfast, for brunch, for lunch, there was no issues. I would get different staff all the time for those times because you don't have a set staff member for breakfast or lunch, just whoever's available. I did find that they were pretty helpful. They were polite. They would ask questions, double back to me if I had a question about if something's available. They were pleasant and they were friendly, and I got my food usually pretty quickly. So I didn't really have any issues with the staff there. They were pretty nice. But when it came to dinner time, that's where it went off the rails. Now, my waiter was horrible. Now, when you're sat at table on the main dining room, you have a waiter and you have an assistant waiter. My assistant waiter was fantastic. He was the one who was actually in charge of our drinks. So if you wanted coffee, tea, juice, alcoholic beverages, anything. He was in charge of that. He was fantastic. He was always on it, making sure our drinks were refilled. Great. My main waiter was horrible. Literally, when we sat down, the first thing out of his mouth was, "Hi, my name is so-and-so. Please leave me a positive review after your cruise." And I was like, he didn't even order. You didn't ask us our name, nothing. So it wasn't a great experience right off the bat. And then after that, he didn't even ask if we had dietary restrictions, nothing. He just said, like, "What do you want to order?" So for me, this was the worst experience I've ever had with a main dining room waiter. Usually they're fantastic across the board, but I just felt it was very lacking here. This server really didn't seem to care about my experience. He just wanted to get a good survey rating, and he wasn't going to get one from me because he didn't deserve it, but it was just not a great experience. And every time I'd ask him questions, he's just like, "Oh, I don't know." And I'm like, "Okay, well, can you find out?" And he's like, yeah, I'll get back to you. And it took him a while to actually get the answer. And another thing I really didn't like about my waiter is that he didn't follow up. So usually when you get food, they'll be like, "Hey, how's it tasting? Or do you need anything else?" And he just brought us our food and we never saw him again until like late at night, till he brought out the next course. And sometimes someone else would even bring out the course. So he wasn't very good at following up. And then eventually, I think it was like day 2, the head waiter came over and she was a lot more knowledgeable, which was great in the fact that she was able to tell me what could be made gluten-free. And we placed our orders, the night before, just so everything was ready in advance. But she was also very annoying with the fact that she was like, "Oh, make sure you leave us a good rating," every time I saw her. So I went to the main dining room a lot because it was one of the safest places for me to eat on board. And every time I saw her, she'd smile and be like, "Remember the survey?" And it was so annoying. I said this in my review, but I've never had such annoying main dining room dinner staff in my life. And I don't want to shout out these people's names because I don't want to get people in trouble. Service overall was very hit or miss, like I said, because there was some really fantastic staff members on there, but the ones I interacted with the most were just the worst. So if you guys are wondering if I got gluten, the answer is yes. The head waiter who was helping us out, she brought me food that was not gluten-free and it made me very sick. I was brought over this dish, which was like this tofu avocado salad and it had no dressing. So she brought me over this like vinegar and this like stuff, and the vinegar had barley in it or something. It was not gluten-free and I didn't know because it just came in like a little thing to pour. She didn't bring me the bottles. I asked if I could read the label and she's like, "Oh no, I'm sorry. The things are like too big to carry them out, but I looked at them for you." And then afterwards, as I felt like immediately sick after a few bites left, and then my husband asked and she's like, he has to see the bottle. He's like, "Can you take a picture or something?" And it turned out that the vinegar had gluten in it. So not the best experience there. Definitely if you're bringing food to somebody, you should be reading the labels, especially if you told me you did, which definitely brought my rating down. If you do have celiac disease or gluten intolerance or an allergy, I would not recommend Enchantment of the Seas because there's very few options that you could eat on board. And then I just don't think they took my eating restrictions serious enough. Talked about the service and some cons that were definitely negative, but there were some pros as well. Now, the biggest pro for me is that most of the food I got came out really quickly. So usually I get my food within 10 to 20 minutes. So it was really quick, came out hot, fresh, good, most of it. And for breakfast, there was a large variety of foods, which I really did appreciate. And there was no lines at the food venue, so you can just go wherever you want. You don't really have to wait in line. And that's not something that happens on the larger cruise ships. Usually there's lines everywhere. So that was definitely a pro for me, is that you don't really have to wait in line to get food. When I was in Windjammer, there was actually a good amount of like seats available because it wasn't super busy. That's definitely a pro of Enchantment of the Seas, in my opinion. All right, guys, so when it comes to the price of the cruise, the quality of the food, the options on board, the service, the taste of the food, the ambiance, and everything like that, I'd go ahead and give Enchantment of the Seas a 5.7 out of 10 for the food. And I would give it a thumbs up, but just slightly. Overall, for me, it could have been better. For me, this was definitely my worst experience food-wise on a cruise ship, and worst experience on a cruise in general. And I've been cruising for over a decade. But I will say, if you are someone who is not gluten-free, don't have an allergy, you're probably not gonna have any issues other than, the limited options, because there's only a few places to eat on board. But you could go on this cruise and have a completely different experience for me. I've heard a lot of you guys in the comments, in my review on Enchantment of the Seas saying you had a great experience. So I honestly think it might come down to who is serving you, because there are different waiters in the main dining room, and the gentleman I got was really bad, but you could get someone who's great and responsive and, you know, just cares. And in case you are interested, I've done a full review on Royal Caribbean's Enchantment of the Seas as well. If you want to check out my full experience, things like entertainment, activities, the room, service, and more, you can check out that review, which will be coming up at the top right, also linked in the description below. But if you're like, Abby, this does not have enough food options, I want more, hey, I've reviewed Royal Caribbean's Symphony of the Seas, an Oasis class cruise ship, which is huge and it has so many food options. If you want to check that out, you can check out my full review on Royal Caribbean Symphony of the Seas, and I've got into a whole food review on Symphony of the Seas as well, which you can check out. All going to be linked in the description below for you. Now, if you guys have gone on Enchantment of the Seas, let me know your experience with the food. Was it to your liking? Was it disappointing? Let me know in the comments below. And if you haven't gone on this cruise ship at all, let me know if you're interested in giving it a shot. And that's all I have for today. Thanks for watching, and make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Bye.